The Fed says that they want to see core inflation. What's core inflation? That removes food and energy prices. And there's two indicators. There's the personal consumption expenditure, or PCE, and then there's the CPI. And they say we want to get it to 2% over time. That's hard to do. 2% is a really low number. But the big component of this, in fact, 43% of core CPI is shelter. 21% of core PCE is shelter. Okay, so what's shelter? It's not what you think. Most people make the mistake and they think it's home values. It is not. Home values used to be in, but it got removed in 1976. And since then, it's only rents. What actual rents are and what owner's equivalent rent. You own a home, how much you think you can rent it for. So what are those rent numbers going up year over year? Currently, it's 3.1%, and you can see that's come down a lot. Now, some of you might have read something. You might say, well, wait a minute, Barry, Apartment List said it's actually negative 1.2%. Now, the number's accurate, but that's only new rents. So the first time you rent it out as a new rent. A renewal rent is going up closer to 4.5%. So when you blend the two together, the blended rate is actually 3.1%. So why is this important? Because this is going to weigh into so much of CPI, except the fact that this number is averaged for the past 12 months. It's very backward looking. When you average the last 12 months and the number that's actually in these readings, it looks like this, 7.3 or 7.4%. So this number is much higher than the actual number. Why? Because it's averaging the last 12 months. So it lags very badly. The Fed looks at this. That's kind of looking at the rearview mirror while you're driving. If you look at this number, that's where we are right now. It's kind of looking at the side window. But if you look at the front windshield, you look at the trajectory of where we're going, and we're definitely heading lower. But the Fed doesn't do that. That's why they cause these boom bust cycles. You see, this difference between the two, and let's take CPI. CPI shows 7.3% that the Fed's looking at. The actual number is 3.1. The difference between these two, if you do the math, that's 4.2%. If you multiply that by the weighting of shelter of 43.7%, you can actually see where we really are today. See, the Fed says inflation's too high because they say core CPI is 4.3. We wanted it 2.5%. But once again, let's do the math. The difference between these two multiplied by the weighting, and you get a lag effect of 1.8%. See, the rearview mirror says we're at 4.3. If you take a look out the side window and say, where are we right now? It's really 2.5%, much closer to where the Fed's target of 2% is. We're not that far off, but the trajectory is for it to go even lower. Look, you're all reasonable, normal people here. If you're driving down the highway and you're speeding ahead and you see in the distance there's a brick wall, when do you apply the brakes? You apply the brakes way before you hit that brick wall, right? Well, if that brick wall is 2%, before you get to 2%, you should stop hiking rates. You should actually start maybe cutting rates and putting the brakes on. But no, not the Fed. You see, the Fed waits till you hit the brick wall and crash, and then they make the changes. Let's show you exactly what they did not too long ago. Do you guys remember in 2021, Janet Yellen's out there saying, we got to go big with quantitative easing. Jerome Powell saying, we're not even thinking about raising rates. All the Fed members, we need more inflation. Why? Because back in 2021, this is just 2 years ago, folks, they were saying inflation's too low. We need more. Because when they looked at this heavy weight of rents and shelter, it was only showing it going up 2.5%. That's because it averages the last 12 months. But if they looked out the side window, if they looked at the blue line, which they should be looking at today, rents were already going up at 8%. Now, if they looked at the front windshield and looked ahead, look at the trajectory of where they were going, then they would have started hiking rates in 2021. They would have stopped QE in 2021. Remember, they kept QE going until March of 2022. See, if they would have stopped a year earlier, we never would have had the inflation. We never would have these high rates that we have now. We wouldn't have all these issues and the banking crisis and the Fitch down. We wouldn't have any of that if the Fed would have just done what it was supposed to do. But that's what you get when you have lawyers instead of economists looking at it, because they should be looking at this, but they're looking at this. They're doing it again. They should have been looking at this, but they looked at this.